Our government has no power except that granted it by the people. It is time to check and reverse the growth of government, which shows signs of having grown beyond the consent of the governed. Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Ronald Reagan, wasn't he something? And here's one of the moments where he met Donald Trump. I love pictures like this. Two presidents, one sitting president, one future president. Got the 40th president and the 45th president. We were wondering around here, what would Ronald Reagan, if he were alive, what would he advise the president to do? You know, there aren't too many people Donald Trump can call up who he could reasonably call a peer. You know, former presidents of the United States. Not too many of them left, and I don't think too many he's actually friendly with. Want to bring in our presidential historians, Doug Wead and Craig Shirley. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You know, we heard...
Good to see you, Greg.
Good to see you both. We heard Ronald Reagan speak about the limitations of government. He wasn't a fan of government. With that in mind, would he be similar to Trump, relying on the states in large part to handle aspects of the coronavirus response? First to you, Craig.
Yes, he would be relying. He was a federalist. He believed that the government closest to people, governed the best. He would have provided whatever resources or material or manpower or financial aid that each of the governors asked for. But he knew that the states ultimately, you know, when they talk about a national solution, they never say what a national solution is except to bash down Trump for not having a national solution. There is no national solution. The best way to handle this is by administering the government and the medicine and the people at the local level, and that's what Reagan would have done.
And, you know, Doug, the president has a very keen, sophisticated sense, as he should, he's the president, but of what the federal government's responsibilities are and what the state's government's responsibilities are. It's extremely impressive if you look beyond the fake news and just listen to him in these press conferences.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, Greg, I want to mention Craig Shirley has a book about Ronald Reagan that your viewers ought to get and read. It's a great book. But almost any president before this crisis with China and this George Soros money, even a Democrat president would use the federal government to defend the rights of the people. It was the one constitutional provision, the moment where they could use power. LBJ had tanks on the streets in Washington, D.C., and Dwight Eisenhower sent federal troops into Arkansas, which was run by a Democratic governor, and Little Rock, run by a Democratic mayor, and he used federal troops to make sure African-American children would be allowed to go to school. So the Democrats are very sensitive to their racist past, and it's why they've always called Donald Trump a racist and why they called Ronald Reagan a racist. They're very sensitive to that.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, and yes, as governor, the Berkeley riots of 1969, he absolutely squashed them. I think we have some video here with National Guard. And would he be inclined to do the same, do you think, Craig, in places like Portland, Chicago, and Seattle?
Boy, that's a good question, Greg, and I've really been really thought about that. I think he would have been hesitant to send in federal troops. He would have sent in maybe National Guard. He would have activated the state National Guard, or called on the governor to activate the National Guard. On the other hand, too, he was a shrewd political operative. You know, when Berkeley was exploding, he saw the political opportunity. He knew that the majority of the people of California, you know, saw these as a bunch of spoiled brats. He said so at the time. The free speech movement had some admirable traits, but it also had a lot of, nastiness and juvenile behavior and, immoral behavior and things like that. And so he used it, quite frankly, to galvanize political support for his side of the argument. And I think that's what Trump ought to do. Trump is not going to solve the problems of Portland or Chicago or New York, but he can use it politically to muster political support for his position to the rest of the country and to the decent people of this country.
So, gentlemen, I am really looking forward to the debates. I love it. We all do. I have a feeling that Joe Biden is going to find a way to worm out of them. I really do. Or he may not be around for the debates. They may make a switch. But Ronald Reagan was gifted most of the time in his debate performance. Here's a moment.
I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
That was quite a moment. And I think, by the way, that joke was given to Ronald Reagan by the late, great Roger Ailes. You know, it's interesting, Doug. I remember hearing about Ronald Reagan's age all the time when he was first elected. He was, 69 years old?
69.
69, yeah. I never hear about President Trump's age, and he is the oldest president I think we've ever had, at least the oldest elected to a first term. And it's just interesting. I think it shows you Donald Trump's resilience, energy. Age is not a factor with Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he owes some of that to Ronald Reagan, who hit the ball out of the park when they tried to nail him on the age issue. He worked real hard in that first debate and flubbed his closing, which was limited amount of time, and he didn't finish it right. Nancy Reagan was furious, felt he'd been overworked. But he knew that question was coming like a fastball right down the middle of the plate. Everybody in the stadium knew it was going to be a fastball, and they knew it had to be in the strike zone. And Ronald Reagan hit it out of the park. So they've kind of left Donald Trump alone on the age issue. But you're right, he's older.
He's older, and it's interestingly not a factor. Gentlemen, we've got to leave it there. Doug Wead, Craig Shirley, you both have 1 million books. I have your pick. Craig's got about 16, it looks like, on Ronald Reagan. Google them both, Doug Wead, Craig Shirley. I'm sorry we had a graphics problem tonight. We don't have the book covers. We will next time. Doug, Craig, to be continued, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, house call from Dr. Samadi.